What's the take on GDPR in the US? Is there the feeling that Europeans are trying to curb the growth of US tech giants? I mean, how do your colleagues at home feel about us Europeans legislating in a way that you would probably never get in the US?
It's a great question, and there is, well, I'll say there was. I would say years ago it was difficult to get folks to understand it, and years ago we relied on things like Safe Harbor, which essentially promise of applying the same data protection regulations for EU citizens into the US. Today it's not a problem at all. We have a global privacy team that is large and has real power within the organization. We think the US will drift towards looking more like Europe than not.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I'll say it's not just the US, it's Latin America, it's the Asia Pacific region. They're all very different than Europe. So we think that the US will drift more towards a stronger privacy angle than not. I'll say interestingly, with no animus or sort of prejudice here, it's interesting in the way these laws also play out with very large, the sort of largest groups. So Google, Facebook, Amazon, large publishing groups, fundamentally have a different and more opted-in relationship with the consumer. And so to some extent, the more that these regulations get stronger, it benefits some large US corporations, not just the ones I mentioned, but others as well. And so I think there's an interesting dynamic of maintaining the objective of letting consumers feel that their data is being protected and they're not being abused, and at the same time a market dynamic between who are the players in that chain that have the direct connection to the consumer versus an indirect one. And so I don't have a point of view on that other than to say I don't think privacy regulation at all is binarily pro or anti large US company. Sometimes there are some unexpected sort of nuances in there as well.
Okay.